Welcome to A Guide to Every Deck in Modern. Today we're looking at Urza Thopter combo. Urza Thopter combo is a combo mid-range deck that utilizes the interaction between Urza Lord High Artificer, Thopter Foundry, and Sword of the Meek to gain infinite life, infinite mana, generate infinite Thopter tokens, and cast every spell in the deck with Urza's third ability. How the combo works. Thopter Foundry sacrifices any artifact, preferably Sword of the Meek, to generate a 1/1 flying Thopter token. Sword triggers from the graveyard and returns attached to the token. You can repeat as many times as you have mana available, sacrificing the sword and gaining 1 life and 1 Thopter per iteration. With Urza, you can tap the sword for blue before you sacrifice it to stay mana neutral and gain infinite life, then tap any number of the infinite Thopter tokens created to gain infinite mana. If that isn't enough to win the game for some reason, you can use Urza's third ability to exile and cast the rest of your deck. You can cast Cauldron Complete and equip it with Nettle Cyst, or attach Cauldron to a Construct token for a hasty trampling infinite power attacker. The deck is also capable of winning without the combo using large constructs created by Urza and his saga, or other mid-range threats like Cauldron and Nettle Cyst. There is no stock list for Urza decks, with some even cutting the Foundry Sword combo altogether and playing as a pure mid-range deck. However, the cards in each deck generally overlap. Outside of the core combo package, the cards I would play for sure no matter the version of the deck are Portable Hole, Metallic Rebuke, some mana rocks like Talisman of Progress or Moonsnare Prototype, and various searchable cards for Urza's saga. The deck always needs a way to tutor for Sword of the Meek and or Thopter Foundry. The 3 best tools to do so are Goblin Engineer, Stoneforge Mystic, or War of Invention. Each has their individual strengths and weaknesses. Stoneforge Mystic is the best mid-range card of the bunch since it can also find Cauldron Complete and other equipment. Its downside is that it can't find Thopter Foundry. Most pilots have settled on it as the preferred card. Goblin Engineer puts Sword directly into the graveyard exactly where you want it. It's the least mana intensive of any of the tutor cards. It also has additional utility, being able to switch artifacts in play for ones from the graveyard and looping beneficial effects like Chromatic Star or Ichor Wellspring. Its downsides are that it requires splashing into red, and it's the worst tutor for finding anything but Sword, specifically since the card goes to the graveyard. War of Invention's upside is that it can find any artifact, not just Sword and Foundry. It's also an instant, which may be relevant at times. Its downsides are that it's the most mana-intensive of the tutor cards, even considering its improvised cost reduction, and requires heavily skewing your mana base towards blue. Its triple blue requirement clashes with Urza's saga in particular. The benefit of Urza decks is that they can play as both mid-range and combo, either winning with a quick loop or grinding games with value. Urza is good on his own, even when lacking the combo, since he puts a big threat on the board and creates a huge mana advantage. Similarly, Stoneforge Mystic can grab threats, combo pieces, or value engines depending on the situation. However, the deck is very weak to artifact hate, particularly Stony Silence effects. The Foundry Sword combo can also be disrupted by graveyard hate. When sideboarding, make sure you have answers to these problematic cards. If you are playing the combo, never cut pieces from it. Tips and tricks. Various decks can beat you even with infinite life, such as Belcher, Tron, Blue-White Control, and Mill, so it's important to have a way to win immediately. It doesn't have to be Cauldron, but you need something. Walking Ballista is not a good infinite mana outlet since you can't spend any mana on it if you exile it with Urza. If you assemble infinite mana and can't win immediately for some reason, pass the turn, and your opponent casts a sweeper like Supreme Verdict, you can float infinite mana in response and rebuild your Thopter army post-board wipe. Urza can still tap artifacts for blue mana through Stony Silence effects. Portable Hole is generally a worse card than Prismatic Ending, but the deck's artifact synergies are too important to replace it. However, it's terrible against decks like Blue-White Control that play Prismatic Ending and March of Otherworldly Light. Sideboard out at least 3 copies in those matchups. Thopter Foundry can sacrifice itself in response to removal. Some artifacts don't actually tap to activate their abilities, such as Aether Spellbomb and Equipment. This can be combined with Urza or Metallic Rebuke. If you have the option of attacking with a small artifact creature such as Esper Sentinel or leaving it back to pay for Metallic Rebuke, you should probably leave it back. You can save time with infinite mana and Urza. As long as the deck is randomized, you don't have to shuffle it again in between each activation. This trick applies only if you run Batterskull. If the germ is gone and you want to bounce and replay Batterskull with Stoneforge Mystic, you can activate Stoneforge and hold priority, then bounce Batterskull. That way, if they kill Stoneforge in response, you'll still get your Batterskull. You can bounce Cauldron with Teferi to cheat it back in with Stoneforge Mystic. Teferi, Aether Spellbomb, and other bounce effects have all sorts of uses, like finding more equipment with Stoneforge, getting another construct from Urza, resetting Portable Hole or Pithing Needle, and so on. Anything that puts artifacts into play at instant speed, such as Stoneforge or Thopter Foundry, can trigger Ingenious Smith during the opponent's turn, partially getting around its once per turn limitation. I hope you've enjoyed this look at Urza Thopter combo. I want to thank my fellow players in the Magic community for whom sharing their experiences helps make these guides possible. You can find additional resources, such as an up-to-date deck list, in the description. If you think I left out anything important or got something wrong, please leave your thoughts in the comments, and stay tuned to see what deck we look at next time.